thing I'll definitely say is for people that are just starting a business, like literally, like let's say in their first 6 months of that journey, I would say, try to invest in areas that, are not that costly, I would say. You can do so much with, like your very limited resources that I would not really advise all businesses to start with digital marketing. Once you reach that sort of point where you have a couple of clients, you have some brand awareness, you started to create a reputation, you have some reviews, that's when I think is a really important time to start investing in digital marketing.
Alan has started and grown several multi-million-dollar businesses. His mission is to help you do the same. Welcome to the Business Growth Pod, building the future one entrepreneur at a time.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Business Growth Pod. I'm Alan Draper, and I am excited for our episode today. I am actually out of town with my family, so I'm recording from our home in Naples, Florida. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm skipping some beach time with the kids to chat with our guest today, and we're going to talk about all things marketing. So any type of startup, you're going to want to listen in. So today I'm excited to welcome Asil Diary, and Asil is a multiple agency owner, and he's the director of AMD Consulting Group, which is based between London and Dubai. This is going to be interesting. The group includes AMD Digital, a digital marketing agency, which is passionate about helping brands and companies grow through effective marketing, social media, and customer acquisition strategies. And his passion for growing brands, companies, and working with celebrities allowed him to create an ecosystem that exposes him to all aspects of business marketing and advertising. So I'm excited for our conversation. Welcome to the show, Asil.
Thank you so much for the intro, and thank you for having me as well. I hope I don't cut in too much into your holiday time, but it's a pleasure actually getting to speak to you today.
Yeah, for sure. Well, tell me a little bit about, for those who are listening to just the audio, I can tell that Asil he looks a lot younger than I am. And so I kind of want to hear about his start because I have a lot of younger entrepreneurs that listen to the show. So tell me a little bit about how you got started and a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey.
Absolutely. So I think, since I was very young, I was really into business, always looking into ways of making money as a young person, with different side hustles at school, then, going into uni, selling sneakers and so on. So I always had that sort of passion for anything, related to business. After finishing uni, of course, like a lot of people, I decided, to go for a nice corporate job. I used to work for Gartner, and I was basically doing sales and marketing consulting for tech startups. So I did that for about, I would say, a good 3 years and a half, growing through, I would say, the corporate ladder, and as well, managing different countries, different teams. And I got to a point where I was really working with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of tech founders. And the main thing that I was hearing a lot about is they were very confident about what they were building. But whenever it came to actually marketing or selling their solutions, that's really where the main pain point came from. So from hearing that so much, I was like, there's definitely something to be done on the market. And I decided to start AMD. So originally I started AMD by myself, getting my first couple of clients, my first case studies. And luckily enough, I had my first client within the first month. And that came from the amazing work that I was doing for one of my previous clients at Gartner, who told me, listen, I know we have a non-compete and you cannot work with me right now, but I have one of my peers right now that is launching a startup and I would love for you to basically work with him. So that was I was really blessed in terms of the way I started because I was able to start straight away with clients. And, throughout this sort of journey, I got into multiple things. I got into advertising, which is the main focus of my business, but I also did, affiliate marketing. I got into e-com. So I really looked at the different aspects of, marketing and what I could do with it. And of course, I got into influencer marketing by working with some celebrities and connecting them with key brands to have engaging sort of campaigns. So this is a little bit of, regarding my journey. It was very standard, starting for a business and then getting into my own business. But, nevertheless, it was not really the easiest path because, again, I got into a business where I was by myself in a country that was foreign to me, which was the UK, and working with clients, all over the world as well.
Gotcha. So where are you originally from?
Originally from Libya, but I'm also Swiss. So, I'm sure not many people have heard of Libya, but it is this country in North Africa. And yeah, I was lucky enough as well to basically have the Swiss passport after living there for a couple of years, which basically allowed me to be in Europe. But again, the UK for me was always an interesting market because this is sort of reputation in Europe that the UK is where most of the business is done. And that's really why I wanted to go to the UK and specifically to London to be able to, start my career there. And then I got into opening my business over there.
Awesome. What have you noticed is different in the marketing world from country to country? Are you seeing that there are some differences, or are there some basic principles that apply regardless of where you are?
That's a really good question. I think one thing I would say is like there's definitely those, common sort of behaviors that you see across every single market, but each market has its own specificities, and the way the consumers engage as well with brands is very different. I mean, I'll give you an example. For example, in the Middle East right now, in e-com, so I have a lot of e-com clients that I work with. And in e-com, one thing we're seeing is what works the best is actually people are not willing to pay on the platform or on your website or your Shopify. They pay upon delivery. And that's a common trend in those kind of countries where people just want to get the goods in their hands and then they're willing to pay. So it's a different stage of the market, different stage of how you advertise it as well, because you're not telling people, oh, like you got to go to the website and order whatever you want and pay for it. You're basically telling them, make the order and then you'll be able to pay for it when it comes to the actual like delivery. And if you compare it to, US markets or European markets that are much more mature from that perspective, people are willing to put in their card details and spend thousands and thousands on one shop, literally, when it comes to that. So when it comes to actually addressing those sort of different behaviors, you have to market it differently. You have to understand those behaviors in order to align your strategies to it. But as well, also need to understand, what are some of the things that, this audience is interested in and that could allow for further conversion. And that's one of those key things, as I said, like cash on delivery is one of the things that works really well.
I think one of the issues that startup entrepreneurs face is understanding certain practical business implications to their decisions. And this is very interesting that you're telling me that in some cases, in some countries, people don't pay until after they receive the goods or services. And I think that in a lot of cases, that would be very detrimental to business, a lot, especially because how does a business pay for those things up front, get them produced? So what is it about the marketing aspect that allows people to view the practicalities of a business? So how do you help people understand, hey, it's better from a marketing perspective for you to take payment after delivery than it is for you to say, hey, I'm going to charge up front? Are you looking at like price? Like, hey, maybe if I charge up front, I'm not going to be able to charge as much. What's that conversation like? And how do you analyze, it looks like to me, I guess my point is, and I'm having a hard time kind of putting it to words, but it looks like, there's this scale. On one side is, pricing, things like that. And then on the other side is the deliverables, what you're offering to the customer. And how do you balance those two things? How do you balance what's required for you to operate a profitable business with what the consumer wants?
To answer the first part of your question, I think one thing that really helps as well, those conversations, is the A/B testing. Like very simple process. You want to A/B test. You want to do one offer that has, payment on the platform through your payment processor, and the other one where it's cash on delivery, basically. You don't need to allocate a huge budget to it. You can literally show, if they don't believe you, you can literally show them that one converts better than the other. That's based on numbers. Numbers are not going to lie in that case. And that's what allows us to have a better conversation afterwards. That's only in the case if they don't have that trust in us or if they don't believe in us. But that doesn't happen very often because we have other case studies and other people that we can as well, share the data to demonstrate that. The second element is you need to have a very transparent conversation with your customer or the person you're advertising for, because you're going to need to understand from them, do they have enough cash flow to support this business model? Because it is a totally different business model. It's not like traditional e-com where your Stripe or whatever payment provider you work with is going to send you the money straight into your bank account. It's not like that at all. Like it's very heavy on cash, as I said. Sometimes you might want to have delivery guys with like card machines. It really depends on which market you operate on, but it's a bit more rudimental way of doing e-com. So that conversation of cash flow, of understanding as well, stock, understanding as well, these are things that they're able to execute on their side. And if it's feasible from a numbers perspective on their side, we'll definitely look into it. If it's not, we're going to look into other alternatives, or we'll look into targeting different markets. But again, they need to understand that if they want to, have that sort of awareness, visibility, and presence on that market, they're going to have to align with the local trends. Like that's you're not going to be that brand that changes the whole consumer behavior. That's very challenging from that perspective. So I think, having that conversation around stock and numbers, plus as well demonstrating results from other like success cases or other, I would say, like, or even their own data through A/B testing is the best way to basically move forward around this. But it's not very standard. And again, it's not something that aligns with everybody's way of doing business. Because businesses that are super heavy, that are super short on cash flow, it's pretty much not possible to do that because your cash is out there for a while. Like until you get it back into the business, it's out there for a while.
Yeah, it's interesting because as you were kind of explaining that, it made me think about how much you can learn about your business through marketing. Marketing is a way for you to get your thumb on the consumer pulse before they become your customer, which is very interesting. And if you look at it, if these entrepreneurs and these small business owners, they look at marketing as not just an investment in future top line growth, top line revenue. They look at it as, hey, I'm improving my company. I'm learning what the consumer wants. I'm doing kind of this testing. I'm finding out if, what my price needs to be if I want money now, and if it's worth it, if it's worth the risk of returns or, declined orders or whatever. I think there's just a lot you can learn from the industry that you're in, what the people want just through marketing. And there's a lot of people, Asil, that they're not using digital marketing, especially in my world, right? I do a lot in home service businesses, pest control companies, landscapers, pool cleaners, those types of things. And a lot of times they're just marketing through word of mouth. But it seems like when you're spending money on ads, on building a robust website, on SEO, you're able to scale, obviously. People know that, but you're also able to scale your operations. Now, the question is, how much of our operations should be driven by marketing and not vice versa, right? I think it's the chicken and the egg thing, because sometimes salespeople, marketing folks are wanting to change how we do things so that it's more attractive, so they can sell more. But the operations folks are saying, hey, no, this isn't who we are. This isn't what we do. What's that balance? Let's talk about that a little bit.
I think you touched base on a really good point right there, which is, I think it's about balance. For me, it's really about balance. You want to build a sustainable business that is not fully dependent on ads or digital marketing. So as you said, through referrals, through word of mouth, through your own local sort of way of doing advertising, I think that's really important. But again, if you're looking to scale and, scale with the resources you have as well, I think digital marketing is key to that. You're getting more visibility, you're getting more awareness around your brand, people are hearing more about you, and it gives higher chances of people actually working with you. So that's a fact. So it's more about putting yourself out there. And I think you mentioned, for example, maintenance and gardeners and landscaping. I think that's a great example right there, because what we've seen recently, and I work with a couple of these businesses, during summer, for example, we ran a campaign for a landscaping business and we did lead generation for them. What they saw is that we're getting a cost per lead that was, I think, between like $7 and $10 per cost per lead. And we understand that their services can last a few hours and it's above $25 an hour. So what they did is they had bookings for the whole summer, but they also know that allowed them to stop the campaigns midway through summer because they had so many people that were ready to, use their services, again, from a retention perspective, use their services, and they were able to grow the pool of people they were engaging with and that they can send offers to, that they can, offer their services to essentially. So I think, from that perspective, they had a really good brand awareness locally and, were known. But again, they just had to expand through, I would say, a little bit more around the region, but also increase their presence in that local market they were in. So that more people heard about them that they didn't hear about from. They also saw, a lot of, I would say, people that might have heard of them before, but have never asked for their services. So again, you're creating an ecosystem where people are talking about you, they're seeing you, and they have more reasons to inquire towards your services.
So when you're talking to somebody that's relatively new, they don't have a huge marketing budget, they're a little nervous about it. What's that conversation like from your perspective, and how much are you recommending that they spend on, pay-per-click or SEO? Like, what's that conversation like? Because a lot of people that I talk to, they're really nervous about it. And ultimately, they'd just be investing in themselves and they need to take that leap, just like starting their company. It's a very similar experience with marketing and doubling down on yourself and your company. But what do you say? How do you, talk these people off the proverbial ledge to convince them to invest in their company?
I think, one thing I'll definitely say is for people that are just starting a business, literally, let's say in their first 6 months of that journey, I would say, try to invest in areas that, are not that costly, I will say. You can do so much with, your very limited resources that I would not really advise all businesses to start with digital marketing. Once you reach that sort of point where you have a couple of clients, you have some brand awareness, you started to create a reputation, you have some reviews, that's when I think is a really important time to start investing in digital marketing. the conversation that we typically have is around their goals. So we'll look into understanding what is your revenue goal for the year? What is your number of clients you want to gain by the end of the year? And we'll look to as well understand, what is their full capacity? Because one thing that actually happened to us in the past is working with somebody where we got into the limit of the capacity and they're saying, I cannot take on more clients anymore. And we still had, things running. And that's something that people don't think about as well, is you have to ask what is their limit capacity? What is their stock? How much can they offer realistically? So once we have that conversation, we try to align the strategy to their goals, to the stock they have or the capacity they have. I would never recommend, again, spending thousands and thousands. What I recommend is starting with what I call a testing budget. A testing budget can be, $1,000, $2,000. And, for a few people, it can seem like a lot. But again, from a digital marketing perspective, that's nothing. That's peanuts. And with that testing budget, what we'll look to understand is that what are these campaigns that are effective at getting you customers? What are the ones we can optimize? And what are the target audiences we can engage with that you might not have thought of from your side that we can, see potential in? So to that testing phase of about a month, we'll understand, what's working, what's not working, what needs to be optimized and scaled, and we can, give really good feedback. So the good thing about digital marketing is that you'll see results within the first month, typically. Like, unless you do B2B marketing, it's very rare that it takes you months to see results. Otherwise, something is wrong and it's not working. So in order to have them, have that sort of like confidence in moving forward, it's also about aligning, that spend, the return on advertising spend you can get. So if we're aiming to, for every dollar that you spend, get you $3, we got to look into the numbers and look into if that's a good number for you. So we set those goals, we set those expectations, and through that month of testing, we'll be able to give more realistic numbers in terms of what will be needed from a cost perspective. So I think, what's essential here, and just to really summarize it, it's about starting low, testing the different audiences, different campaign types, and understanding what's working for you as a business. And from there, you can look into scaling and spending much more. So realistically, unless you do that test, you won't be able to have that confidence. I can share with you, of course, thousands of case studies to try to convince you, but I understand I was there as a small business owner that has put maybe all of your savings into a business. It might look like a lot of money, but again, you got to think about the opportunity as well that this can bring you, like the amount of scaling it can bring you, the amount of revenue it can increase. Resources, realistically, you'll have a certain cap that you can reach. And of course, throughout the years and throughout time with referrals and, word to mouth, it can grow. But again, you want to sort of like boost that sort of reach and boost that engagement in order to get like, the returns you're expecting as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think one thing that the startup entrepreneur needs to know is that a lot of learning and research goes into marketing. So, and I've heard this a lot from people that they put $500 into a budget, didn't get a single lead, whatever, right? Or maybe they got one, it wasn't a good lead. They're like, yeah, my ROI is bad. And if you're just looking at it in terms of, what did I get versus what did I learn, then it's really hard to get out of that learning phase. But if you look at it as, hey, I paid $500, but look at what I learned. Like, hey, maybe when my geo targeting was off, or maybe my landing page sucked, or my call to action sucked, or whatever. If you look at it as, hey, I'm learning something and I'm getting better, you didn't waste that $500 or whatever the budget was. And the other thing is, a lot of people will quit, Asil, right? They'll quit. They'll invest. They'll say, okay, I'm going to invest a couple $1,000s. If it doesn't work, then I'm done. And that's the wrong attitude with digital marketing, because it's you just paid to learn a lot and you're quitting right as you're starting to learn. Have you had a similar experience with it?
Absolutely. I'll have to say a couple of things. Like, first of all, we might be, like right now having our established businesses, but I can definitely say that I launched a good amount of businesses that failed as well. And from those failures, you learn a lot. So I think that's one really important element. The second element, as you mentioned, a lot of people give up after they have like this amount of time and amount of money they're looking to invest. Once they run out of time or money, they're like, I'm done with this. The reality is, unless you dig really deep into, your audience, into your solution, the problem it solves, or, all the key research that needs to be done around, what you're looking to offer, you will not be able to move forward. So from those mistakes, I've seen people literally like spend thousands and not make a single sale from those thousands spent on digital marketing, but they learn about their audience. They learn about how they need to develop or improve their product. They learn things that they would not have learned without that spend realistically. So, and they bounce back from that failure and literally like reposition their solution, rebranded, or, change like their pricing model, anything like that. All of these pieces are extremely important to get us feedback in order to make those improvements to get into the right direction, I think. So I've had very similar cases, but one thing I'll have to say to everybody out there, giving up is the easy route. And I think as well, you need to give it more time, more effort to really see if this is something that is for you. I'll definitely agree. Some people are not made, to be entrepreneurs. That's a fact. But for the ones that really believe in themselves or believe in what they have to offer, you need to give it more time and you need to give it more effort, because otherwise you'll never really know.
Love it, man. Where can people reach out to you to learn more about what you guys are doing at AMD and everything that you know about marketing and kind of learn from your experience?
For sure. So, they can definitely check our website. We chat a little bit, what we've been doing. So it's amd.digital. So I'll pass the www, but amd.digital. And the .digital is the domain name. So because people say like, where's the .com go? But like the .digital is basically where we are. You can also reach out to us via Instagram. So AMD_digital. And you can reach out to me directly on Instagram as well. So that's Lord_of_Sahara, like the desert of Sahara. So that's my personal one. I use it for my personal brand and for my other businesses. So feel free to reach out. But these are the channels that you can definitely use to basically engage with us and speak to myself or my team and see how we can potentially help you.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for your time, Asil. Wish you nothing but success and, appreciate you, man.
I appreciate the time as well. And thank you so much, Alan, for the opportunity. And I wish you the same success as well.
If you have enjoyed today's podcast, please leave us a rating. And for daily inspiration and business tips, follow Alan on Instagram. Until next time, remember, we build the future one entrepreneur at a time.